is Oriana Marchese. I'm a second semester student here at Saba University School of Medicine. I've been given this opportunity to chat with you and kind of answer some questions that you might have about the school and maybe give you some insight into what it's like being a student here at Saba. Because I was in your shoes not so long ago and I had all these questions, so hopefully it could be of help to you. Just to give you an idea of who I am, I went to University of Toronto and I graduated with a double major in psychology and Italian. And I chose Saba because, well, first I heard about Saba through friends and I had heard really great things about it. And it gave me hope because there were a lot of practicing physicians who actually went to Saba. So in doing more research, I found that there were a lot of great things about Saba that ultimately led me to decide to come here. One of the reasons was the small class size. I really liked the idea that I wasn't in like one of 800 students, and that like professors would actually know who I am and what my name was. And also the idea that I could be kind of like a family with all my classmates. That really was one of the great things about Saba, and it's actually one of the things that I really like about Saba. Another thing is that there were a lot of, I noticed a lot of residents being matched into prestigious residency positions like in the U.S. and in Canada, so that was another great factor that led me to Saba. And also another thing, being Canadian, with the Canadian dollar being as it is, this university is actually a little bit less expensive than others, so that was actually another big factor that led me here. So I'm going to get started with some of the questions. Hopefully they can be of help to you. So what tip can you give somebody applying to Saba to make the process easier and less stressful? So for me, I decided to just make a list and kind of tackle it one by one. I think my biggest advice would just be to give yourself some time and just ample time to do everything, because you have to do vaccinations and you have to do a police check, and for me I had to get a loan from the bank, so all that took a lot of time. So just do yourself a favor and give yourself the time so that you're not stressing out before you get here, because you'll be stressing out enough once you are here, so it's better before you leave to just enjoy that time with your family and friends. What's your favorite place to eat on Saba? It's by far Long Halls. I really love Long Halls. They have really great pizza. I think that's something that most students would agree that that's kind of where everybody goes to have great food. It's in Windward Side, and I'm sure once you get here you'll know all about it. What is life like in general on the island, and what's your favorite outdoor activity? So Saba is a very small island. It's very quiet. Everybody here is really friendly, and it's a very safe island. It does take some getting used to, being from Toronto and like having access to whatever vegetable at any point of the day, like even if it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. Obviously that's not realistic on such a small island. There is like a delivery once a week on Wednesdays typically, so that's when everybody goes and gets their fresh veggies. So you kind of have to plan ahead, and you do get used to it. I've spent $6 on asparagus before, and as good as they were, it was still $6. So like just keep in mind things are also a little bit more expensive for Canadian students. With the exchange, it's like $10 asparagus, so keep that in mind. But I love, like, the scenery is absolutely beautiful. The island is gorgeous. I love going for walks, and that's one way that I can de-stress. When I do have time, which is, you are very busy at this school, but when you do have time, people go hiking, they go snorkeling, scuba diving. There are places you can even go swimming and see fish. Like there are things to do, and scuba diving is something that Saba is actually really well known for. So, and that's actually one thing that before I graduate, I really want to make sure that I get done. So what does your daily schedule look like? I'm not really a morning person, but I wake up at 6:30 and I get ready for school. The bus picks me up at around 7:30 and I get to class at around 8 o'clock. Well, I get to class before 8. And so being in second semester is a little bit different from first, so I'll kind of tell you what to expect as a first semester. You have anatomy class from 8 o'clock till 10 o'clock, and then you have histology from 10 to 12, and then after that you have an hour break for lunch. And then from 1 to 3 you have either clinical skills or you have physiology. And then from 3 to 5, you typically, like 3 days a week, you'll have anatomy lab, and the other 2 days I think you get off early. But the anatomy lab is absolutely like wonderful, and that's actually one great thing about having a small class size, is that you can have a smaller group of people per cadaver, and it really gives you a chance to apply everything that you've learned in class, and just like solidify it and see it like hands-on. It gives you a lot of time to like be hands-on with the cadaver, and that's one thing that I really enjoyed about that class. So after school, I found that one way to really help me de-stress was like going to the gym or going for a walk. I really recommend taking breaks. A lot of people just try to work through the evening, or like even doing like all-nighters, and it's not very sustainable. You should, get to know yourself and know that you might need breaks and kind of take it from there. But for me, I did give myself like scheduled breaks, and I'd make myself like a healthy dinner with whatever vegetable I could find that week, and then go to sleep at around 11, and then the cycle continued. So what tips can you give about your best study habits and the skills you've learned to do the work in medical school? So one thing that I did learn really early on was that what worked for somebody else didn't always work for me. So the things that I had, like my undergrad didn't really teach me how to study, and I found that when I got here I was kind of overwhelmed, and I quickly had to learn new ways of learning, and that's something that I'm still working on as a second semester. And my advice to you guys is just to be flexible, be adaptive. If something isn't working and your block one doesn't go so well, change it up, do something different and see if that works for you, because it doesn't, you can't stick to what isn't working. So that's one big advice that I have for incoming students. And one universal thing though is that you have to study every single day. You're bombarded with a lot of information, and if you don't spend that time every day, it's easy to just fall behind. So I think one thing that I've noticed about students and their success is just studying really hard, but also studying every single day as much as they can. So tell us a bit about your interactions with your professors. Are they accessible? Do they actively help you? I've had some great experiences with my professors. They've always been really kind, and they've always been accessible. They have office hours, and they even will meet you like during non-office hours. One thing about the anatomy professors is that they're just like the best. They will go above and beyond to help you learn the material and like help you in any kind of way that they can. I know that one of my favorite things was that Dr. Khan, who's an anatomy professor, every single Saturday he held a lab review where he'd kind of go through everything that you learned that week, and then we'd go from like cadaver to cadaver trying to like apply that knowledge. And I really think that was one of the key factors to my success in that class, was always being able to rely on him to kind of help me through things that maybe I didn't really understand during class, and he'd help me learn it over the weekend. So I can't thank him enough for doing that, and he's always available for people, and so are the other anatomy professors. Another thing just to note about like the classrooms, if you're anything like me, I get really cold and even though I'm Canadian, I do get really cold. They keep the classes and even the dorms at like 69 degrees. So I would recommend bringing sweaters and sweatpants, even though it sounds like crazy that you'd be packing sweatpants to a Caribbean island. Like, you'll thank me if you're anything like me anyways. So where is your favorite place to go on Ceiba? Well, I recently moved to Windward Side, which is kind of like the little city center of this very, very small island. And I really love it here because it's very lively. It's just beautiful. There are grocery stores here and like a little bakery, and it's just really beautiful. I love being in Windward. I went hiking recently, and just like seeing the whole island was just awesome. So I think that everybody has their own little favorite spot, but for me, like being in the city center has been really great. What worried you most about starting medical school, and how did you conquer that fear? So for me, coming from a psychology and Italian background, I really felt like at a disadvantage. 95% of my class or more had a fancy science degree, and I didn't, and so I felt like I felt overwhelmed, and like that I had a lot of work to do. And as much as I did have a lot of work to do, what I noticed was if I just put in that work and put in a lot of like effort and time and dedication, that I could do just as well as anybody else. And I hope that that could be a motivation for you guys, that if somebody with more of like psychology background could do it, then so can you. So what have you enjoyed most about your time at Saba? I think what I'm most grateful for is the friendships I've made. I've made some wonderful friends, and really feeling like they're family. It's been really great. I am grateful to Saba that I have this opportunity to finally fulfill my dreams. So that is something I'm also grateful for. And now that you've applied and started, how does it feel to be in medical school? It's pretty surreal. There are days that you get caught up with the everyday classes and you forget where you are. But then when you kind of look at the big picture, it's pretty amazing. And the idea that soon I could be one of those residents that are actually making it, it's very inspiring, and it gives me motivation every day to continue to work hard. So that is something that I'm very grateful for towards this school, and it makes me really excited for the future. So I'll open it up to you guys. I don't know if you have any questions for me. I'd be happy to answer anything that maybe I missed. And if not, it's been a pleasure talking to you guys. I hope that I was helpful, and if you have any other questions, you could direct it to the admissions office. They'll be more than happy to answer some of your questions. So yeah, thank you so much.